I've had a good week of practice. Disappointed after the loss at Northern Iowa. Just need to execute better. Thought we played hard. Went there to win. Came up short. I thought we took care of the football better than we have in the past. Didn't give up big plays, and just need to execute better. But came up short in that department. Have a tremendous amount of respect for our next opponent, North Dakota State. They're as good as advertised as they are every year. I'm somewhat familiar, having worked with Coach Bowl, University of Wyoming. Can't say I'm real familiar, but I got the utmost respect for what Coach Bowl's done at North Dakota State, and how Coach Kleiman's come in and built it even more in the job that he's done. And now with Coach Entz, they just keep building it, just keeping building to get stronger. So I got the utmost respect with Coach Entz. We've got great coaches in this conference, but we got better people as coaches. And through all this tragic time, you hear from all the coaches in our conference. And Matt was the first one that reached out to me, and he's a great man. He's a great coach, and I got a lot of respect for what he's doing at North Dakota State.
Curt, can you give an update on Gavin? Mm-hmm. And also, it looked like T. Hodge looked like he was practicing.
Yep.
And just kind of a general injury update on others.
Absolutely. Okay. We're going to have to see where Gavin is on Friday, whether he can throw. Right now he's in a sling. Because it makes him feel better. He's got great range of motion. If he doesn't play this weekend, he'll be ready to play next weekend. We've got T. Hodge back. He's full strength. It's great having him back, and we got Michael Hopper back. So excited about having those two guys back. But this is that time of year, where we gotta keep going. We've built our depth throughout camp, and we got to play a lot of guys.
What were the biggest positives you took away from Northern Iowa, specifically with your offensive line? It seemed that was one of their better games, Coach, in terms of 4 quarters.
There's no question. I think the consistency that they had in blocking, really proud of the way they did. They came off the ball like the whole team. The intention was to win. We went there to win a football game. But they definitely did a great job up front. But the thing I'm most proud of is we complemented each other, as far as we ran the ball and did a good job keeping our offense off the ball, our defense off the field. And we just got to execute when we get turnovers, and we did, and that was where we came up short.
Curt, whenever I think of North Dakota State, apart from their success, it's a physical challenge. Yep. Every time you play that team on both sides of the ball. There were encouraging signs in that department from you guys up at UNI. What do you feel like? How do you get your guys to answer that physical bell? Mm-hmm. Both on the offensive and defensive side of the ball to match what they do.
Yeah, well, there's no question about it. They're really, really physical. That's how they've been for years. And this team is they just get better and better as the season goes on. And you watch them from Drake to North Carolina A&T to Arizona, they just get better and better and better. They get stronger as the year gets on. But it's going to be a heck of a challenge, and we're going to have to play a lot of guys. And, as we've built this program, we've built it with guys up front. And we got to continue to do that. And we got to build it with our depth. And we've got to play a lot of guys, because you can't just play a guy 60, 70, or 55, 60 snaps against a team that's going to just run it down your throat. So we got to do it with numbers, and we're going to have to play a lot of guys.
Todd mentioned the physicality. It seems like no one represents that more than Hunter Lipke. They're fullback, tight end, receiver, does everything. How would you describe him and the talent and just the different things that he can do for them offensively for North Dakota State?
Well, I was a young coach when I coached against Mike Allstott, but sure reminds me a lot of him. He can catch the ball, he can play tailback, he can play fullback. Mike did about everything, and that's what I see with Hunter. And they utilize him as a tailback, they utilize him as a fullback, they use him as an H-back, use him a lot of different ways. They even jump in Wildcat. And so he's a tremendous player. There's a reason why he'd probably be the first fullback taken in the NFL. He's that good, and he can do a lot of things for him.
I have a question of my own, but to follow up on what Luke asked, I mean, that's kind of Hunter Lupke is kind of proves that, you don't have to go to a newfangled way of, I mean, they use him in different ways,
Yeah.
but, fullback has been a dying position really. And, does it, for somebody who's been around football for a long time, who's seen a lot of different offensive formations, is it kind of good that, it's not a carbon copy of what everybody else does? I mean, they do still keep that tradition alive up there.
Well, that's a tribute to, Coach Bull, Coach Kleiman, Coach Entz. They're all a little bit different, and they bring their different flavor. But you know what? They're consistent in what they do. It's going to start up front. It's going to start with running the football, and they're going to be physical. And that's how that program's built. And, it starts up front, and it's going to start with running the football. And but it is. I worked at Wyoming, and it was. There'd be times you'd be sitting on the sidelines for 7-8 minutes. I was bringing up conversations to talk to these guys just to keep them entertained. During that's just how it is. They keep the defense a great defense is a fresh defense, and they'll pound you, and they're physical. But boy, I give them a lot of. The reason why they're successful is they're consistent in what they do. They haven't changed. They haven't wavered. They're going to do what they do, and they're going to do it extremely well.
My own question is sort of related. I mean, your run defense is only allowed 2.8 yards per game this year. What do you feel like has been the key, against some good running teams too? It's not like you played tomato cans. I mean, it's a legitimate 2.8. And what do you feel is the key to what you guys have done successfully to limit opposing running games? It's not every series, but more often than not, it's been there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, we've been a 4-man front. Last year we, went with a 3-man front. Felt that fitted our personnel a little bit better. We feel a 4-man front fits us better. We have numbers. We have guys that are physical that can hang in there, and that's where it starts. I like the way our linebackers are playing. I think Jeffrey Brown is playing at a very high level. Last year was his first year playing. He's playing like a veteran. Johnny May is playing like a veteran. It was his first year playing last year. Jaron Johnson's been in the program for a long time, and he's playing like a veteran. And and they're just getting better. And we're going to continue to get better with that group.
In terms of your own running game, you were able to keep you and I's offense off the field for long stretches on Saturday. Is that something that you can make into a momentum thing? I mean, you want to, but can that carry over from game to game? Of course, NDSU's defense is excellent, but what gives you hope that can be something that you carry over?
Well, it's a big challenge. This is a great defense, number 1 defense in the country for a reason, and but we got a heck of a challenge, and we got to do the best of our ability to move the chains and keep our defense off the field. But it'll be a heck of a challenge. But I really felt, Todd, after the Northern Iowa, that this team bought in about getting better, and that it wasn't a bye week, and that it wasn't, it wasn't an off week, it was a bye week, and they approached it that way. And I didn't really have to tell them, but I did, that this is a much improved team over the last 2 weeks, and we've got to carry that momentum. And when I got in front of them and I told them, we took care of the ball, we didn't give up big plays, and we had a chance at the end to win it. We didn't execute. We got to execute better. And that was a big part of last year's game when we played these guys. We gave up way too many big plays, and we turned the ball over early, and you can't do that against the number 1 team in the country.
I don't want to say that it wasn't or hasn't been a competition, because I know Steven kind of went through an injury early in camp, but is it a competition right now who you want out there in terms of place kicking for your group? And I know you went to Steven late in the game against Northern Iowa. Obviously, Ryan had a strong start to the season.
Yeah.
Just how would you characterize that situation right now with Ryan and Steven?
Well, I'm not one to pull a guy when he misses, and I told the 2 young men today, and I felt like Steven is really getting better. You know, Steven had a slight groin pull early in August. Ryan came in and, you know, really overtook that position. But they're both kicking really, really well. And, you know, Ryan is back to form. You know, if I do it all over again, I probably wouldn't have pulled him as quick as I did. I should have given him one more kick on that. So I talked to the young men, communicated with that. I don't want them going out there thinking if they're going to miss a field goal, I'm going to pull them. That's not the case, and never will be the case. I have faith in both of them. I have extreme confidence that we have two really, really good kickers, and we're going to keep going with that.
Again, I'm going to riff off of Luke's question.
Yep.
You know, handling that is tough because there's very little patience for kickers.
Yep.
I mean, you look at some of the reaction to missed kicks, you know, in the NFL. You know, I think back the Colts opener where, you know, Blankenship got cut after he had a pattern of missing kicks prior to that.
Yeah.
But you know, but you're still dealing with people. You're still dealing with, it's a confidence
Yep.
thing.
Yep.
You know, how do you strike that balance between accountability and the fact that people expect it to be 100%?
Right.
And, you know, dealing with the human aspect of it because those guys are, you know, nobody's perfect.
Yeah, you know, and I've seen their body of work since August, you know, and Ryan has been really consistent. And you've seen Steven start to close the gap as he's gotten healthier. Steven's doing one heck of a job kicking off for us. I mean, what a weapon. We have never had that since I've been here. A guy that kicks it out about 95% of the time. And what a huge weapon we have with him. But to answer your question, you know, I just go off of what I've seen and the confidence that I have with those guys. It's like today, you know, we ended in 2 minutes. What'd they both do? They both kicked field goals, you know, and we put them in situations throughout the week, and they both kicked winning field goals at the end of practice, end of 2 minutes. And I just feel lucky that we got two really good kickers right now.
I did want to ask you about Maddox Blackwell, who's
Yeah.
stepped in and done a nice job, made some big plays, probably was kind of low-key, made the play of the game in the North Alabama game where
Yeah.
he made the tackle or tripped him up, you know, near the goal line. But he's been steady. He doesn't look like he's a new starter out there. But tell me about his strengths and how he's kind of evolved into a pretty dependable player out there.
Well, I've known him for a long time. You know, I just happen to, you know, I know his uncle, I know his mom and dad. I've known Maddox for a long time, so he's one of those guys that's really good at everything. You know, he's a good little basketball player, he's a good baseball player, he's one heck of a football player. And, you know, I had no doubt in the recruiting process, you know, I don't want to say but felt pretty confident that Maddox Blackwell was going to be a good football player. And somehow, some way, we were going to get him here at Indiana State. And all he's done is make plays, and he's going to be a really, really good football player for us. He plays nickel for us. He plays safety for us. You know, you saw it in the springtime. If a ball was knocked out or made, all of a sudden you saw number 17 pop out of the huddle. But he's one heck of a player. He's got a bright future here.
Real quick, you mentioned that Michael Hoppert is back, and obviously he adds, you know, a very diverse element to your offense. How does he kind of fit into this, you know, multi-quarterback scheme that you've had? I mean, he's always kind of been there, you know, in the past as sort of a wildcat option, but where does he fit into the mix of what you want to do offensively?
Well, we're just going to have to see about, you know, as we move forward. You know, he has missed quite a bit, you know, but he feels great. And, you know, we've had to progress him back, so we're going to keep doing that. And, you know, what that means for Saturday, I can't exactly tell you yet. We'll just have to see. But he's back. We're starting to work him back in. It's going to take some volume, you know, because he just hasn't played. He was hurt probably the third or fourth practice of camp. And we've got to start to progress him back because when he's gets that in there, I promise you he'll be in there. You know, he's going to – he can do a lot for us, and he adds another weapon for us. It's just a matter of when we're able to, you know, get the green light and get him going.
Coach, can you sense a much more confident Cade Chambers? And if so, what can you attribute to what you see in him each and every day and his work ethic to allow him to continue to gain that confidence?
Well, it starts with his teammates because they have all the confidence in the world in them, you know. I don't think there's a guy, I've been around I've been fortunate to see some really, really good quarterbacks, and a lot of them had one thing, is that they were team guys. You know, Cade Chambers is the ultimate team player. And when when I didn't make him the starter, or we didn't make him the starter, never hung his head, never stopped battling, came to work every day, got better. But this team respects Cade Chambers, and so they're behind him. And if he's in there on Saturday, I know he'll do one heck of a job.
Last question for you. You were able to have a pretty special moment after practice yesterday. You were talking about team guys.
Yeah.
Ethan Kane, able to put him on scholarship. What's Ethan done to really earn that opportunity, and why that's somebody that you wanted to surprise yesterday after practice?
I had no intentions in doing it. I just see it every day from him. I wasn't a planned out thing. I meet with all the players during the bye week, and I've talked to Ethan. I said, you just keep doing what you're doing. I promise I'll reward you someday. And that's all he's done. He came in as a quarterback from Concord, Indiana, and he came to me a year ago, wanted to move positions because he felt like he could help the team in another way. And so I said, what about linebacker? He goes, can I do it today? I said, sure. So he walked out of my office. He was a linebacker. And all he's done is work out and get stronger and get bigger. And this week we used him as we had him playing Hunter as a fullback, and did one heck of a job. And, so after practice, obviously I just, as I've done with quite a few young men in this program, rewarded them, and that was a reward well deserved.